Hey, welcome back to SoberNow.com. I'm Jim LaPierre, continuing our conversations about romantic relationships today. And my hope for you is that right along you've been investing in the most important relationships, how you relate to yourself, maybe how you relate to a higher power, but certainly how you relate to people who encourage you and support your recovery process, whether that's biological family, chosen family, your children, whoever is important to you in your life. I hope that you're really investing in those relationships. And if you're also ready and starting to pursue dating relationships, that's great. But let's talk about the pace at which those tend to go. There's an old joke that my friends in recovery tell about what do two folks in recovery need on a third date? And the answer is a U-Haul. Because they're probably going to move with each other. That's too quick, obviously, but it's not too far from the truth either. There's a number of dynamics that I see play out in early dating relationships in recovery. I'm thinking of a couple that I worked with years ago, and they had both had a lot of unhealthy relationships, and they wanted to do it right. So they came to meet with me actually as their coach after a few dates, and they said, okay, this is what we've done so far, and this is the direction we're heading in. And I said, wow, that's really fantastic. You guys are doing all the right things. And they said to me, yeah, we're going to go real slow. Like the pace is going to be that of an iceberg. And I was like, okay, that's really healthy. They came to see me a week later, and they both looked like a couple of embarrassed teenagers. And I said, okay, what happened? And they said, well, the iceberg melted. And that was cute. But it was evident they rushed into something and it started to go downhill. So, the most common mistake that I've seen people make is we are people who give disclosures. And we're people who feel like all of the dirty laundry needs to be put out onto the table before we go too far with this thing. And what's insane is this conversation usually happens on the third date. So, folks feel like they're interested, they feel like there's a connection, there's chemistry, there's attraction. We got together, we went out for a couple of lunches or a couple of coffees, we're hitting it off, I'm thinking about introducing you to my family, but before I do that, I think I should probably tell you every horrible thing about me, every terrible thing I've ever done, every big mistake I've ever made, every person I've ever hurt, and everything about my past dating relationships, which is completely and utterly insane. And yet, it happens. It happens for a lot of reasons. We feel like, listen, before I make much more of an investment, before I get attached, I'm going to tell you all the things that might drive you running away from me, the things that might make you change your mind about the person that you believe me to be, the opinion of me that you're forming. And so we share really intimate details about our past, our childhoods, our families, even trauma that we've experienced. We talk about where the disease of addiction took us and maybe some really regrettable mistakes that we made while we were in active addiction. And then what happens predictably is that most of these relationships fail. And now there's somebody, maybe in similar circles as ourselves, who knows all of our secrets, knows our past history, and maybe feels rejected by us or mistreated by us. And now we're going to be really concerned. God, why did I tell them all those things about myself? Well, I think it's well intended, honestly, but I think sometimes, especially in the early years of recovery, we still have a low sense of self-worth. We still feel like maybe on some level people need to be protected from us. Maybe they should be given a great deal of information up front. And we don't really let people come to their own truth or form their own opinions. We tend to project how people should feel about us and what they should think of us. And that often leads to disaster. Part of letting go of control is recognizing things that are very simple and very basic. Like, I only have control over what I say. I don't have control over what they hear. People are going to form an opinion of me based on their own perception, which is a product of their own experience with their beliefs and values, not mine. And so when I try to control that, I'm putting an enormous amount of pressure on myself. I'm creating anxiety, and typically all of it's based in insecurity. So what I need to do is relax, be myself, let people have their own opinion, let them form their own truth, and not try to manipulate that or control that. Early on in relationships, we put all of this pressure on ourselves to put our best foot forward, to impress people. Folks I know in recovery sometimes refer to it as we send our representative. We only put forth the very best stuff that we have. We try to be charming, funny, engaging, and then we switch gears. We give you all the reasons that you should probably run and not get further involved with us. And then if you stay, well, now we're okay, making some kind of commitment or making some kind of conscious decision to continue moving forward in this relationship. And there's an excellent chance that neither one of us know what we're doing. Okay, so if you're at that juncture, my first thought is, what would you reasonably want to know about your partner? Would you want them to unload every secret, every experience, every feeling they have? Or would you say, well, they shouldn't put that pressure on themselves. They should go slow. They should only share with me what they want to, right? A counselor would call this depersonalizing, in the sense that if we're not sure what we should do, we could think of it in terms of a friend or in terms of the person that we're dating. What would we want them to do in a given situation? Because then we're not so wrapped up emotionally considering somebody else's experience. And however we would see it for them becomes a guide for how we can see it for ourselves and how we can proceed. I always encourage folks, if there are people in your life who you know have had long-term healthy partnerships, learn from them. Don't just rely on specific advice, like what do you think I should do about this situation? But learn from them in terms of what's made their relationships successful. I always quote my wife, who's actually an accountant, where opposites really do attract. So I can talk forever and a day about relationships because I'm a therapist and I talk a lot. My wife's an accountant. She says things in a very concise and business-like fashion. So she says relationships are work, and the work is ongoing. And you either do the work where you continually invest and grow together, or you get to have a relationship that is less than satisfying. And my experience is she's right. So learn from those who have more experience. Practice those skills not just in your romantic relationships, but in all relationships. Practice setting boundaries and having a sense of self, and be honest with yourself, not just about where this is going, but where you want it to go. And there's no rush. Please take your time. Make that investment. It's really vital. And continue to invest in every part of your recovery and every part of your life. It's really easy to let things fall off when you're experiencing the excitement of a new dating relationship. So don't practice firehouse management. You know, categorically, we have these areas in our life. We have work, we have home, we have recovery, we have friends, we have hobbies. And for most of us, when we hyper-focus on one of those, other things fall off. And so then we rush over and fix those, only to find that other things have fallen off. So what we're really trying to do is achieve some kind of balance, increase how healthy and how manageable our lives are, and achieve goals. So I hope that if you're pursuing a dating relationship, or if you're in a partnership now, that you can talk about some of these concepts with that person. Make this a shared version, a shared vision. Don't put pressure on yourself to figure anything out. Make it a mutual process, because in the end, that's what a partnership really is. Thanks. Have a great day. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Help us expand this conversation. Email me, by all means, jim@sobernow.com. Let's talk about more things that you want to talk about, and let's make this dialogue, just like a healthy partnership, let's make it more interactive and more mutual. Thanks. Have a great day.